put it and make it live. I'm Jay Schwartz, Tyson Dorman. We have Ryan Webb as our members. We do have a quorum. Ms. Consoli is with us. And then the other, if everyone else wants to introduce themselves and who you are with, that'd be great. Trip.
Sure thing, Mr. Chairman. Trip Fulton. I'm a representative of Gerald Hyman, who is the owner and resident of 518 6th Street, which is the subject of this appeal.
Great, thank you. Tobias.
Yes, hi, I'm Tobias Sullivan. I'm an architect here in town, and I'm also the neighbor to the immediate left at 522 6th Street.
Great. Ms. Wood. Cheryl Wood.
Good afternoon, Cheryl Wood. I'm counsel to the Building Board of Appeals.
Great. Jessica.
Hi, Jessica Carase, and I represent the Department of Planning and Zoning for the City of Annapolis.
Kimberly.
Kimberly Consoli, I'm here as recorder and liaison to this board.
Great, thanks so much. We have a pretty full agenda. I'm first going to read an introductory statement. The Building Board of Appeals is established by City Code Section 02.48.50. The Building Board of Appeals task today is to determine whether or not the City of Annapolis, under Title 17 of the City Code, follow the applicable code requirements and use reasonable care and consideration when approving or denying the permits in question. Additionally, the board will determine whether there is substantial evidence to support the city's approval or disapproval of the permits in question. If the board determines that this appeal is outside or beyond the board's jurisdiction as defined in the city code, the board may dismiss the appeal prior to receiving any testimony or documents relating to the merits of the appeal. Additionally, if the board is convinced that testimony offered by any party is clearly not relevant or material to the issues on appeal, the board may rule either that the testimony not be received or that the testimony be limited. Finally, a person aggrieved by a decision of the Building Board of Appeals may, pursuant to this section, may appeal the decision to the Circuit Court for Anne Arundel County pursuant to Maryland Rule Title 7, Chapter 200, as may be amended from time to time. Does everyone hear that? Let's do a little swearing in. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the Building Board of Appeal is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. We have a pretty full agenda today. Well, the first thing we're going to tackle are the administrative business. And then we have a public hearing and then some new business. So administratively, Tyson and Ryan, we need to approve the minutes of September 11th and October 22nd. Have you had a chance to look at these and comment, if any comments?
Yes. No comments.
Ryan? It looks like maybe we lost him.
He's coming back in now, Mr. Chair.
Great. Ryan, your volume's turned off.
Yep, sorry, that took me a second. I have read the stuff, the documents, and I do not have any.
I need a motion to approve both.
I move that we approve both documents.
I'll second.
September 11th, October 22nd. Need a vote? All in aye?
Aye.
Approved. Thanks so much. On our agenda, we are going to, under new business, we're going to remove the approval of the Building Board of Appeals Rules of Procedures draft. It's like a 10-page document. We're going to put it off until the next meeting. Any issues with that? Yeah, Tyson,
No
you're
issues.
off. Great, thank you.
No issues from me either.
We have public hearings, which we'll get to. We have two issues on the new business, which we'll hear after public hearings. And that is the approval of the 2025 annual report and the election of officers. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our only hearing on today's agenda. And that is the application -2025-0004 Tobias Sullivan versus City of Annapolis, or 518 6th Street. I'd like to hear from, I guess first, Tyson, do you or Ryan have any questions about this appeal at this point? We'll get into it, but about just it's on the agenda. Have you looked at it?
Yeah, I've looked at it. Not at this point.
Okay, great.
I've also looked at it and don't have any questions yet.
Will Mr. Sullivan please present the appeal, what his appeal is?
Yes, I'm specifically appealing sections of the code dealing with the responsibilities of the director, and as well as the subsections of code with the building plan, grading plan, and how those are renewed. And yeah, also just sort of general permit integrity, which I believe would fall under the director's responsibility of 1705120. So today I'm going to ask the Building Board of Appeals to not just weigh in on an interpretation or an opinion, but to fully step into the role of director. I outlined 5 points in my initial application to you all. But as I said, they all ultimately speak to the integrity of the permitting process and the director's duties, which state that a permit can be revoked for misrepresentations of fact. I'm aware of few meaningful facts of this project that haven't been misrepresented over the years. The height, the gross square footage, the block face average, the current build height, and the foundation have all been misrepresented by the developer and his team along the way. In addition, the city has failed to collect fines and require certain permits for the same project.
Mr. Sullivan, let me interrupt you here. From what I understand, the appeal's been brought to us based on your letter of 27 October, and then responded by Mr. Jakubiak on November 4th, and you responded again on 12th November. I think that the issue today is only based on your letter of November 4th, and that is whether the 5 items you've outlined in your letter of 27th October, and I'll go through these. Number 1 is the city's using height numbers. They're going to be inaccurate. 2, building and grading permit expired, so on and so forth. 3, presenting as documents good standing, director failed to fill duties under 0809. 3, is issued proper. 5, deals with the major site design. Today is really about the time frame of these appeals. That's the only thing on our table today. We are not looking into the underlying issues of some of the things you've stated. The height and bulk numbers, that's not on our plate today. Today we are only dealing with the timeline issues.
Okay.
Understood?
Yeah, no, I can speak to that.
May I add, Chairperson, may I add something?
Yes, please.
Just to clarify, this is Cheryl Wood. This is considered an appeal of the director's decision that was given to you on November 4th, 2024, or at least it was a letter dated November 4th, 2025, denying the underlying appeal that you had submitted in October. So the director denied that on November 4th, and the Building Board of Appeals today will consider whether that denial was appropriate. So
Thank
that's
you.
what's before the board.
Is that
Okay.
understood, Tobias?
I believe so, yes.
And Trip and all the members here?
I
Yeah,
understand, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, I'm just getting to the director's response of November 4th. So the timing of my appeal happened as part of a planning commission project, but several of the facts presented in that process, which were within the 15-day timeline, I knew to be inaccurate, and I believe the city knows to be inaccurate. And specifically, that had to do with the height. During the same October testimony, the architect of the project admitted on record that the heights he supplied originally for the project and then for this October project were estimates. They weren't measured in any way. It was looking at siding courses. I don't know what method they used, but part of that is in the testimony. So
Tobias,
yes.
let me go back. This is about, did you appeal things in the proper timeline as per the code? Not about how big, how little. I know those are issues.
Mhm.
I don't disagree with that. But before the board today is purely, did you appeal in a timely manner? That's what the director denied in his letter to you. He said it was not appealed properly. It was improperly appealed because of the timelines. And that's really what's on our table today. That's what's before this building board.
Sure.
And
as
if I could share, if I could speak, this is Cheryl Wood. In the director's November 4th letter, he indicated he denied number 1 and number 5 from Mr. Sullivan's appeal because they were not properly before the building board. So that's not a timeliness issue, but rather whether this is a proper board, if any, for it to be appealed to. The testimony that's referred to by Mr. Sullivan, I'm not sure if he's referring to, what testimony before the planning commission, or what testimony this was on October 14th. I'm assuming it was in something before the building board. So the question would be, why would that testimony be appealed to the building board of appeals?
Well, the section that I call out in my 27 October was supposedly written by the city, which I also found odd, but they supplied a response to the criteria. And as part of that, they proposed, and I believe the director granted, a height adjustment, a 10% height adjustment, which is spelled out under Chapter 21. But again, when all of the measurements relevant to it are known to be bogus, what venue do you have if you can't come to the Building Board of Appeals and say all of the ingredients that went into the decisions being presented in Chapter 21 and in other boards are based off of known errant facts, measurable facts, facts that are outlined under Chapter 17? Where else does one go? So that's why I made the appeal to the Building Board of Appeals, because the city is using numbers they know to be wrong, and don't seem to be terribly interested in doing anything about it. So I believe that's the relevancy. And in the director's dismissal of it, it says it too closely relates to the Planning Commission's ongoing hearing process. Well, yes, exactly. They're making decisions off of numbers that the city is not only presenting, but accepting and endorsing, and they're just simply not right.
So, Tobias, Mr. Sullivan, Jay Schwartz, we've had a similar discussion before this board 2 years ago. I don't know the timeline, which talked about the site design process versus the building permit process. And the site design process deals with approval of heights, areas, bulk. The building permit office takes the site design approval under advisement and provides a building permit based on the site design approval. We are not allowed by code to deal with the site design side. That's Title 21 only. And that's why in our hearing of, forgive me, 2 years, I don't know the date, Mr. Sullivan, we passed on it. We said it's not within our purview. The argument today is very similar. You are talking about the discrepancies in the approval through, I believe in this, through the site design that got passed on to the permit office. It's not our purview to deal with the site design at all. And again, I believe we heard a similar argument, and it's not within our purview. So again, today we're talking about, and it really comes down to Mr. Jakubiak's letter of November 4th. He says basically items 1 and 5 of your letter of October 27th, forgive me, number 1 and 5 are really site design issues, not building permit issues. So on our table today is really, to me, 2, 3, and 4 of Mr. Jakubiak's letter of, did your appeals happen in a timely manner as per the building code? The building code appeal process, not site design. Did your appeals happen in a timely manner? And that's really the only thing we're trying to understand here.
Understood. And again, I feel like this board not only has the right, but the obligation to look at the director's responsibility under 175120 in maintaining the integrity of the permit process. It's a little abstract, but again, what other venue is someone supposed to challenge, facts being provided directly related to a building height when those heights are documented to be wrong?
So in your view, does the code allow that to happen? Does the building code allow that to happen?
Does a building code allow that to happen?
Does our city building code permitting process is there an opportunity for you to question, appeal that approval in the building code process? When did you a building permit was approved? And
Correct.
I assume you, at some point, you appealed it. First of all, did you appeal it in a timely manner? Our code says you've got X number of days to appeal it. Okay, you did or you didn't. And if you didn't, why should we hear this? And then, based on your letter and Mr. Jakubiak's letters, there were revisions done. And my question for our code is, how does one know if revisions are approved, and how is the public notified of those revisions? So we're looking at your argument about the appeal process, not about heights or widths or volumes. That's not on our table today.
Let me come back to that one for just a second, because one of the other points I wanted to make was that the next step after we first had the first Building Board of Appeals, we went to the Board of Appeals to tackle some of those Chapter 21 issues. And the city attorney made a motion to dismiss our case for timeliness which we ultimately prevailed on, in that the board found that when no reasonable notice was given to the public, that could be waived. And in the case of the renewals of the grading and building permit, again, the city countered with this argument that I'm supposed to check every couple weeks to make sure that they haven't done something outside of code to have, to be heard. I mean, it's a ludicrous burden upon the average citizen to have to chase that. So I believe that puts the matters of the permit renewals squarely in the bailiwick of the Building Board of Appeals based on that.
Well,
and
how then, if I may, if the public, there's an e-track-it type system in the city now. It's not called e-track-it anymore, I guess. There's a way to track permitting in the city.
Sure.
That's open, that anyone can go and look. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how does Joe Public, Jay Schwartz or Tobias Sullivan or Tripp Fulton look at what's going on with the permit? How do we do it?
Well, again, it would be, I'm not sure I can state it a clearer way. If I allege, and I believe there's proof, that these permits were renewed not only in violation of code, but without cause, is it my burden to have to check in on the city to make sure that they're following their own code? Or when I find that they haven't, is there a venue that those grievances can be aired? And I believe I thought I had found it, and I believe it should be heard. Where else? Where else would one, again, go to air out these differences? And back to the whole issue of the first part, if the director has the responsibility to maintain the integrity of the permitting process, and I believe that not just the current director, but sadly a string of them have failed to do that for various reasons. And that's covered under Chapter 17. There's a very clear direction on that. And that's what I would like the Building Board of Appeals to put themselves in the shoes and say, is it reasonable that I've accepted heights I know to be wrong, square footage I know to be inaccurate historically, a structure that isn't being built to the grading plan, a grading plan that's not being done to spec. These are all matters of permits.
Well, they are part of the permits, I agree. But the director said you've not met the timelines. How do you meet the timelines? How do you get notified? What's the process here? Whether you're right or wrong, Mr. Sullivan, what's the process here? And did you meet the prescribed timelines in the city or not? I mean, to me, that's pretty black and white.
I mean, you discover, fraud, for lack of a better term. You discover it when you discover it. So when I discovered it, I alerted the entity that I believe has oversight of that, which is the Building Board of Appeals. And I did that within the 15-day timeline of when it first appeared. I actually just happened to see it on eTrack-It as an average citizen. And I noted that they had, as part of the package, accepted a new set of numbers from Spire Architects that I knew to be wrong. And then in the course of the testimony of the Planning Commission, they admitted were just, estimates. So where is one supposed to go with that? If not the Director of Planning and Zoning and say, sir, you can't reasonably accept it, endorse it, and then give you 10% on top of it. And why
So-
that,
So a question, it's sort of black and white question. Did your appeals meet the city's prescribed timeline for appeals? Point
Yes.
blank, it's black and white.
yes.
You know,
Yes, the documents were uploaded sometime in early October, and I filed my letter 27th of October. And
Mhm.
yeah, or mid-October.
Chair, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I remember
Chair,
the hearing.
this,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead, you go ahead.
Well, no, I just remember the hearing was the 16th of October. And I believe and that's when it was revealed that the documents were admitted to be just guesstimates. So
Cheryl,
Okay, I mean, I think we should focus on number 1 and number 5 first, which are not timeliness issues, but whether it should be before the board, and then focus on 2, 3, and 4. And I would recommend that you hear from the city and perhaps from Mr. Fulton on their response to what he's just presented on number 1. It's my recommendation. Mhm.
Yeah, I think
Mr. Chairman, may
Correct.
we be heard? At your discretion.
Yeah, 1 second, Mr.
Sure.
Fulton. I mean, when I started, Cheryl, I think I said 1 and 5 should not be on the table. They weren't discussionable because they're planning and zoning, the planning commission. They're not building board of appeals here, things. So 1
Right.
and 5, I took off the table.
Well,
I made-
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr.
discretion.
Sullivan has understood. Well, I think a record has to be made because it's part of the appeal. But because the board will have to vote on that, your fellow board members. But I mean, Mr. Sullivan has just spent all this time arguing that number 1 does fall under the Board of Appeals is what I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I thought he was arguing that it should, number 1, the height issue should be heard and why.
Okay,
But
Well,
that's what I've heard.
yeah, and if I may, I'm not asking you to overturn a decision of the Board of Appeals or the Planning Commission. I am asking the Building Board of Appeals to say, is it reasonable that these numbers were accepted in the first place? There's some supporting evidence between, an independent survey I had done and the testimony of the architect and Mr. Fulton during the hearing that these numbers are just that. They're guesses, they're estimates. So I believe that lands squarely in the realm of the Building Board of Appeals.
okay, well, let's take a hold.
Okay.
And
Mr. Fulton.
I'm sorry, Chairperson, if you've heard what you need to hear and your fellow board members have heard what you need to hear on number 1, that's fine. You can certainly move on. I wasn't suggesting anything else. I
Okay.
do want to correct one thing that Mr. Sullivan said. He said that the Board of Appeals waived the time period. You used the word waived. You may not have meant to, but the time period for appeal because the public hadn't been notified. But that was actually, they told the time period for 15 days after or 30 days, whatever it was, after the public had been notified. So I just wanted to correct the record that it wasn't a waiver, and it certainly wasn't an indefinite waiver with regards to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Fulton.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I will try to be brief because I think both you and counsel to the board are rather spot on. Number 1 is purely not in the jurisdiction of the Building Board of Appeals. Mr. Sullivan's item number 1 in this written notice of appeal challenges certain height features of what ultimately was a site design plan process. As this Building Board of Appeals knows, appeals concerning decisions made in furtherance of Title 21 belong solely with the Board of Appeals, not the Building Board of Appeals. I hear Mr. Sullivan ask, so where do I go? And the answer is, right in front of our faces. It is the Board of Appeals. And in fact, he went to the Board of Appeals with a group of other appellants, and litigated height then, just as they litigated height for this building board of appeals over a year ago. If they wanted to carry on with that height challenge, they were free to continue to do so in their proper board of appeals case, which took place again almost a year ago. At this point, this is like the fourth bite at the apple of this height challenge. And I think the chairman is absolutely correct that this is just simply not a matter that is appealed to the building board of appeals. It's properly before the board of appeals. Same goes with number 5, because essentially they're wrapped up into the same argument. As for these items 2, 3, and 4, in my opinion, they're just patently not timely. Jurisdiction of this building board of appeals, as I'm sure the chair and its members knows, is set forth under 17-5-130 of the city code, which is not the zoning code. And it states, a person aggrieved by an order of the director or his designee made pursuant to this chapter may appeal to the building board of appeals within 15 calendar days of the date of the order. The right to appeal is waived if the notice of appeal is not timely filed. Now, with item number 2, in the written notice of appeal letter submitted by Mr. Sullivan himself, he states that the grading and building permits expired in January 2025. We're now in January 2026. Accordingly, we're well beyond this 15-day appeal period. And to be absolutely sure that he knew about certain alleged discrepancies with building and grading permits, these things have been at the forefront of every single appeal that he's filed. They've been already appealed or referenced to the Board of Appeals. And the same goes with the demolition permit in item 4. Item 4 challenges certain facets of the demolition at 518 6th Street, just as demolition was challenged before the Board of Appeals back in March. So again, if we're going to sit here and wonder whether or not 15 days have expired, it certainly has. If for no other reason than the fact that these areas of this site design process have already been challenged 3 times starting over a year and a half ago. In sum, this written notice of appeal was filed October 2025. The only arguable thing within a timely appeal period concerns the height of the dwelling, and it's matter of fact that those appeals belong before the Board of Appeals, not the Building Board of Appeals. I would ask that this Building Board of Appeals dismiss this appeal in its entirety. I don't think testimony is even needed here. It's procedurally out of the jurisdiction of the Building Board of Appeals.
All right, thank you. Ms. Corus, Jessica, do you have any comment here?
Well, I don't want to be repetitive, but what Mr. Fulton just said is obviously the city's position, which is in the director's letter. This is completely untimely. These issues have been appealed many times. These are not new. There is no way you can in good faith say that he just found out about these when these have been in the other appeals. And then also, as Mr. Fulton said, 2 of these items are not even in the jurisdiction of the Building Board of Appeals. So obviously we would ask that this appeal be completely denied also.
Is Mr. Manessa here?
He is here, but I only had him available in case there was something more specific that was needed to talk about, and he would be the subject matter expert for.
Mr. Dorman or Ryan Webb, do you have thoughts on this? Let's just sort of an open discussion, thoughts before we move a little bit further.
I don't have any, I'm still sort of going through and digesting the arguments. To me, it does seem like most of this belonged in the zoning appeal process. I do understand it. It does seem like there is a little bit of a gap in the enforcement of what it has been approved in the zoning, whether that's correct or incorrect. But again, that's outside our purview.
Okay.
Over.
Ryan?
So I would say the only one that I would be left, I can't really tell the difference between item 2, where it talks about the grading permit, and item 3, the grading plan. Then they were renewed without legal basis. That's the only one that I kind of have questions on and don't really understand, I guess, how is it supposed to be done and how was it done?
So if,
Mr. Chairman, I think we're only here for timeliness issues. Sorry, I don't mean to cut in. If you were going to hop in, by all means.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Fulton. Yeah, today on our agenda, Tyson and Ryan, it's about timeliness. It's not about proper documentation. It's not about who did the right or wrong thing. It's really about did Mr. Sullivan make proper appeals due to timeliness? So my question I was going to ask Mr. Manessa, but maybe Jessica, Ms. Corsi, you have the answers. So Mr. Sullivan talked about notifications. It's like, well, and so how does one know something is happening on these, because if I read his letters, and I've tracked the projects because it's before us and because I'm also an architect in the city, how do we know when to appeal something? And I also know that the Board of Appeals struggle with this issue as well. How does the public know when is their notification? Is it just on the website and we must go look every day? I think it's the black letter in the building code says X number of days. Okay, great, I got it. But then how do we, the public, Jay Schwartz, how do I know when revisions have been made or not? Or I think something's wrong. And it's a twofold question, really. Mr. Sullivan's appeal, which we're not dealing with, talks about the height or the area. Well, if the public sees a problem with that in the field during construction, what is their process? And that's what I thought Mr. Manessa may answer. What is their track? How does the public appeal a project? And does it slide into the Building Board of Appeals, which is really Title 17 or Title 21? Most of what we've seen in these appeals, in the previous appeal, I guess, was all Title 17. Site design review was approved. Building permit office takes site design review, plugs it in their system, and they approve a permit. Okay, done. And then the public, if I may, the public said, well, it's wrong. It's wrong. You gave us, it's wrong. So what is that appeal process?
Well, we're not, Mr. Chair, we're not here today to talk about the process. We're talking about the timeliness. And Mr. Sullivan was aware of these grading and building permits a long time ago because those were things that were brought up in the past. So while I understand your question, I don't think it's relevant to the hearing today because, like I said, these are not new issues that have come up. And on top of that, in the Board of Appeals hearing, these things came up. So at least since back then, which was a year and a half ago, these things were known. So while I understand you have that question regarding process, I don't think it's relevant here. Right now, in front of us are permits that were dated back in 2023, and Mr. Sullivan was aware of those. And so these appeals for those permits are just completely untimely right now. There's no way he can in good faith say he didn't know about these issues until now, when these have been argued already multiple times.
Mr. Sullivan's letter appealing the director's actions stated October 27th. And then the building permit was issued February 21st, 2025, which is 8 months earlier. The demolition authorized as part of 2021 for the site design and additional demolition revisions in 2023. So clearly the appeals are not within the notification requirements in the code. So it seems like it's pretty straightforward. But my question still is, how does one know when to notify, when something's approved?
Mr. Chairman, can I hop in here? Because I
Sure.
It's a valid question, and it's one that's been brought up time and time again, not just in this appeal, but in others. And I think I have an answer that at least works for me. And the answer is difficult to hear. Yeah, I know, very self-serving. It's difficult to hear for some, but the truth is not everyone is entitled to notice of every single decision made by a director of planning and zoning. If that were the case, which is found nowhere in the code, our planning process would come to a screeching halt. The fact of the matter is, on some smaller decisions, there's nothing in the code that says the Department of Planning and Zoning must notify everyone in the city and publicly post it on eTrack. If that were the case, then people from across the city would be entitled to notice provisions based on the smallest little nitpick of minor modifications on a property on the totally other side of town. That is just not a workable scheme. So the way our code works is there are certain decisions that quite literally require notice be either posted or mailed and delivered to certain individuals identified in the code. And if it doesn't say that, then as a matter of fact, there is no notice requirement. The city, because it's good practice and it's probably more efficient for everybody, endeavors to post a lot of these things formally on Trackit and now on EnerGov. But the fact remains that for a variety of decisions, there's just no requirement. If there was a requirement that every single time a building permit got extended, that it be delivered via mail and posted on Trackit, then it would open up the floodgates to everyone and anyone in the city to appeal over and over and over again. And that's just not in the interest of the city of Annapolis's planning and zoning scheme. So the fact here with reference to this extended building permit is there was no requirement. For one reason or other, the city decided to extend these things, and I will let you know it's probably due to equitable tolling by virtue of the many appeals that this property has had to suffer through. And nothing in our code says you have to go post this here or there. It's an equitable decision by the city of Annapolis's Department of Planning and Zoning. With all that said, Ms. Corrales is absolutely right. In this particular case, there is no question that all of these items were previously known by everyone in this appeal well in advance of the 15-day appeal requirement. So she's right. This matter is really wrapped up before we even get into that theoretical argument. That's just my opinion of how I think it works. But in my opinion, Mr. Schwartz, that's the answer to the difficult question of when is notice required and when is it not.
Mr. Schwartz, can I
Sure.
add a little bit here? So I think there's an important distinction that's being missed here. I'm not talking about an average citizen rolling back and, either having sour grapes about something that they didn't know or understand. I'm talking about, I allege that these permits were renewed without merit. And yeah, I mean, of course, I admit that it wasn't within the 15-day time period.
That's the end of the discussion.
But if I may, I didn't interrupt you, sir. That the difference is I'm asking the Building Board of Appeals to go back and say, is that reasonable? I mean, can you essentially, I'm over dramatizing it, but commit a crime and then say, well, it was 15 days ago, so, there really should be no look back on it.
There are statute of limitations for crimes, and there's statute of limitations for appeals. And you just admitted that they were past the 15 days. So why?
And I also believe that there's precedent.
Hold on.
All right.
Mr. Sullivan, you've got the floor for a minute.
Thank you. And the other distinction that I think is being missed here is I'm not asking for the Building Board of Appeals to take the numbers that Spire Architect presented in October and interpret them. I'm only asking, is this reasonable? I mean, the city operates on a plus or minus 1 foot, 6 inch rule. There's multiple documents that says that all of these calculations are off. And the city, the director, is still moving forward with this as if this is trusted, reliable information.
You're
let me
things in together that are not in front of this board. That's the problem here.
They should be in front of the board.
Okay,
But
I'm
they're
gonna.
not, because they're not. That's not
And-
the proper venue.
Chairperson,
The code
Chairperson,
tells you exactly what you have to do to appeal a decision after you go to an administrative agency. You
If
are
I have a
picking and
problem with
choosing- you're picking and
1705
choosing- You're picking and choosing what avenue you feel like taking when it's convenient for you, and that's not how the code works.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
interject.
Hold
This
on.
is Cheryl Wood. I
Yes, sir.
just
Yes, ma'am.
Chairperson, if there are no more questions, without getting into deliberations as to what the board members think, if there are more questions on this issue, then they should be asked of whoever you would like to ask, or we should move to 2, 3, and 4, or finish 2, 3, and 4 to the extent that we have not. That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Mr. Dorman and Mr. Webb, have you heard enough on 1 through 5?
I have heard enough on 1 through 5. I don't think I have any additional questions.
Is that
I'm-
1 through 5 or 1 and 5?
1 through 5.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've heard enough of 1 through 5 as well.
All right. I think we have I'm going to close this part of our hearing.
Were there any public comments that you wanted
That's
to
next.
hear?
That's next.
Okay. Okay.
I think we have to allow for public comments on this. Again, I'm going to limit public comments to specifically whether the timeline has been met. That's the underlying appeal. Has a timeline been met by code? And the code says X 15 days, blah, blah, blah. And the city has said, no, they've not met. And we're hearing that today. So again, Josh, if you can let public in, but I will limit discussion to the timeline only.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I can let them in one by one if that's easier, just to keep it organized, and I'll go down
That's
the list.
fine.
Okay.
We're going to keep it short and sweet. I hope.
All right, we're starting out with Mr. Albert. I did not have a last name, so.
Great. Welcome, Mr. Albert. Anyone there?
He hasn't accepted the invitation to be promoted yet.
So go next.
All right, so next we have Mr. Darnell Hall.
Mr. Hall?
All right, he's popping in now.
Mr. Hall, turn your mic on, please. Mr. Hall, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Welcome. Our hearing today is about whether these appeals have met a timeline required by the city code. It's not about the underlying factors. Is it big enough or small enough or too tall or too big? This only hearing is about the timeline. Did it meet the timeline? Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm just listening right now. I mean, like I said, I'm hearing it's going over and over again. You know, you done passed it. This is coming back from year after year.
Yes, sir.
So.
All right. Well, we appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Josh?
All right, up next we have Daisha Conti.
All right. Thank you.
All right, she declined to speak. So next is George Trotter.
Okay.
All right, he's coming in now.
Mr. Trotter, turn your mic on, please. Welcome.
Thank you.
If I may, today's hearing is only about whether these appeals have met the timeline required by the city code. It is not about the project itself. And if you have an opinion, please let us know.
I concur with all that has been discussed, and I understand that this thing has been drawn out to the extent now that Mr. Hyman is really being done a disservice. So I just wanted everyone to know that he's complied with everything that the city has shared with him in the way of permits and also in the way of modifications. And I think he has met the standard that he needs to complete his project in Eastport at 518 6th Street. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much.
All right. Up next, we have Gerald Hyman.
Mr. Hyman, turn your mic on, please.
Well, the Gerald Hyman was my dad, so I don't think he got through or not. But this is the son. I am the owner of 518 6th Street. I think, I'm just tired. It's been going on for so many years, and the neighbors keep repeating the same thing over and over. And we have showed them code. We've done it all. What's next? What else is it next that my wife, my kids, and my grandkids gonna take on? It's you know for several years I've been unable to sleep well, eat well, financially strained. What is next? You know, I don't know what else is it to prove or try to come up, but to say fraud against someone and all that,
Well, Mr.
that's
Hyman,
unheard of. Please stop kicking the can down the road. Let me let us finish our home. Let us live comfortably. We
yes, sir.
gave we gave Mr. Tobias a chance to build his home. No one stood over top of him every second he made. When he left to go home and left the house unattended as he was working on it, nobody went on his grounds, took pictures front, back, none of that. It has to stop.
Well, Mr. Hyman,
Please.
we're working on it. We appreciate your comments.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Next is Mr. John Manassa. Not sure if he's here for public comment, but try to promote him.
Mr. Manassa, your microphone's off.
Thank you. I was just standing by in case required for any background from the department, but I don't have anything to testify to right now.
Well, thanks so much. I think we'll keep moving.
All right. Next is Lachelle Hyman.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask that we keep comments to the time limitation subject matter.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, she's not accepting the promotion. So next is Lawrence Goldstein. Oh, I'm sorry, Lachelle is coming in.
Ms. Hyman, your microphone's off. Please keep it tight and concise. Thank you. Your microphone's off, Ms. Hyman. Josh. There we go. Ms. Hyman. Ms. Hyman, any comments? I'm going to move on here. Let's go, Josh.
Next is Lawrence Goldstein. All right, Mr. Goldstein doesn't appear to be there. So next is Lorraine Abney. Miss Abney, are you there? Oh, declined. All right. Next, I believe, is Miss Finlayson.
Nice. Wow.
Miss Finlayson, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, Ms. Finlayson. Our appeal today is about the timeline for these appeals and not the underlying structure issues.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask that you follow the advice of the legal counsel that's with you today, who know our city code and our procedures well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Up next is Nancy Schumacher. Ms. Schumacher, are you there?
Please, welcome, Ms. Schumacher. Your mic is off. There we go.
My mic is on now.
It's on now.
I decline to make any comment.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks so much.
All right. Up next is NT Sharps.
Yes, sir. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
we
sir.
can. Please keep your comments on a tight schedule there, Mr. Sharps.
Yes, sir. I will do that. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, it's been said so succinctly by so many members of the board that this is not within the purview of this board. Mr. Bias himself has said several times that it's not. So therefore, I think you all should do just what you know you should do and let Mr. Bias take his grievances to the next level if there's any more to be done. At this point, there aren't any. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, next is Robert Schumacher.
Mr. Shoemaker.
I'm up. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Please keep it concise.
I have this to say about the timeline. The process I just witnessed is pretty much shameful. What this has shown is there is no way to meet the timeline requirements, and this allows the city to make bad decisions and hide behind this technicality. It's shameful, and it's a disservice to people like Mr. Hyman and to those of us who are being harmed by the flaws in Mr. Hyman's project. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And last is former Alderman Ross Arnett.
Mr. Arnett, turn your mic on. Thank you. Please keep it concise.
I have nothing to contribute on the timeline discussion.
I'm sorry.
I have nothing to contribute on the timeline discussion.
Well, thanks so much for listening and being here.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your X years of being our alderman.
You're welcome.
That concludes the list, Mr. Chair.
And we're going to close the public hearing part of this. Any discussion from my fellow members of the board, Tyson or who's here? There we go.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't have any other discussion to have.
So Mr. There's 5 elements of this appeal. My view is, and Cheryl, you might weigh in here. Can we holistically deny this appeal, or do we have to deny each element of the appeal?
You can deny the appeal overall, but you should just in your deliberations, which you're in now, you should discuss, have your fellow members or yourself discuss what your reasoning is, but if you were granting part of it and denying part of it, you could do that as well. But if you're denying all of it, then you're denying it overall. But have your discussion and then see where you end up and what your motion is.
All right, thank you. Comments,
So,
members?
yep, so, I would recommend we deny the appeal in its entirety. You know, as we've discussed throughout, 1 and 5 are really outside the Building Board of Appeals purview. And then I think 2, 3, and 4, I think it's clear that they did not fall within any sort of a timely, you know, the the appeal for those items was not within any kind of a timely manner. And I think even accounting for, you know, whatever challenges the city might have in publishing these types of things, I think the amount of time that passed for all 3 of those is significant enough to say that for sure it was timely or not timely.
All right, Tyson?
Yeah, so I concur. I think one and 5 you know, don't fall into our purview. I would say 2, 3, and 4 you know, they don't fall in the timeline. But from a discussion standpoint, I do see where there's potential with gaps in the city's code and potential lack of notification. I am not an Annapolis member. I'm in Anne Arundel County, live in Anne Arundel County, where they do post frequently on some of this stuff. But overall, I mean, I you know, I don't see any of the timeline being a factor here as far as the Building Board of Appeals. Over.
Yeah, I have to concur. I think that, you know, 1 and 5, which we heard in the Building Board of Appeals hearing 2 years ago. I don't know what our timeline. We basically heard about the height in the areas. And they are clearly outside our purview. They're clearly a site design element, and they're in Title 21, and we're not party to that. It's not what we do. Mr. Sullivan in his 5 questions the role of planning and zoning. Again, it's about planning and zoning. It's not about the permit office. You know, 2, 3, and 4. There may be elements in his appeal that have merit, but they don't meet any timeline. The timeline in the Building Board appeal in our code, you know, under 21, under 17, whatever we are now. It's actually under 2.48, 0.050, but under Title 17, none of these appeals meet the timelines. The original in Mr. Jakubiak's letter back to us of November 4th, you know, the initial and partial demolition was authorized in 2021. 221. Well, you know, it's a few past 15 or 30-day limitation. Additional demolition was authorized in 2023. Okay, well, we're in 2026, gentlemen. And then finally the revised building permit was in February of 2025, and Mr. Tobias's initial appeal, I guess, was the end of the month, end of October. So none of these meet the timeline as per our building code, Title 17. If we are in reasonable agreement, I need some motions. Cheryl, any comments?
No comment at this time.
Okay. We need a motion, gentlemen.
So I'll put a motion forward to deny the appeal.
And do it nice and slowly so Kimberly can follow it.
So
Go
I
ahead.
put forward a motion to deny the appeal.
How much, how little, all of it, some of it,
All of it, all of it, sorry, yeah, all of it.
and reasoning 1 through 5?
1 through 5, 1 and 5 don't fall within our purview. I think 2, 3, and 4 are outside the 15-day timeline.
Cheryl, were you talking to us?
Oh, I mean, I didn't know I was talking. No, I want to interject the motion that's on the floor.
You want to object? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I will not interrupt the motion that's on the floor. I wasn't saying anything.
Did you hear the motion, Cheryl? Did it make sense to you?
I did. It's been moved and you are awaiting a second.
That's
I
right.
second that motion.
Can we have a vote, please?
I vote aye.
I vote aye.
Usually I don't vote, but in this case, because we're down to a minimum, I'll vote aye as well. Thank you. Ms.
Yep.
Wood?
Nothing further on that.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thanks for spending an hour and a little over. Off the I think we all agree there are issues with this timing and the permit code, and we have a new mayor. Hopefully he looks into some of these issues with our help, I hope. So at our next hearing, the city has provided us with a massive rules of procedure, 12 pages of stuff. Please take a look at it because we're going to have to review it. And I have a couple of modest questions, but I think at our next hearing, we want to go through this.
Okay.
Anything else on your agenda, gentlemen?
And then it will be posted for the public to review as well after the board approves it.
Now, Sarah, can we individually look at this and collectively say we approve it or we recommend approval and let the public see it? Or do we have to wait for another hearing?
We don't have to wait for another hearing. You can send your comments and edits, and then we can, well, your vote, you will have to vote to approve it. So yes,
Okay.
Wait till the next meeting.
We'll have to wait. All right, thanks. Trip, anything?
No, as long as we're free to go, I thank the chairman and the rest of the board.
No, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Fulton.
you. Appreciate it.
I need a motion to close our hearing.
Well, did you, the hearing is closed, but you wanted to, well, I guess you'd entertain, and then you're going to go to your vote for officers and.
Oh, yeah, right, I forgot about that.
I think was there one other item or just that?
Yeah, there was approval of our 2025 annual report. Any issues? I think we responded by email, but let's take a vote, please. I need a motion if there are no questions.
I move to approve the 2025 annual report.
I second that motion.
A call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. 3.
Aye.
There we go. 3 no. And then we have to elect officers. We have 2 and I have 1 in absentia. We could throw him to the wolves here and let him take over. Or one of you guys decide. I've been in the hot seat for a while. I'm happy to continue if that's how you want to do it.
I put a motion forward for you to continue, Jay, to stay in the hot seat.
And I second that.
How about a vice chair? Let's put a slate out there. Let's do a slate.
All right. Let's add Bob. Bob's currently the vice president, right?
Vice chair.
Yeah, vice chair.
Yeah.
So I would add on to the motion that we also include Bob Hrube as vice chair.
And I will second that motion.
I guess we need a vote. Jeez.
Aye.
I vote aye.
I vote aye.
I don't think I need to vote on this one.
Nope.
I can't vote. I'm not
Well,
going to vote for myself.
you got to vote because y'all don't have a quorum.
I'll go
otherwise.
aye. I'll go aye.
Okay.
I'll approve it. But,
Yep.
Gentlemen, in the next, probably not too long, I'm gonna go look. I've been on this for 15 years. Maybe it's time for some new blood to happen.
Okay.
Of course, Tyson's not in the city. That may hurt. Ryan, you're at the Navy, right?
Yeah, I
you
work
in
for the
DC?
Navy. No, I live here in Annapolis.
I know you live on Monroe Court, right?
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Monroe Court.
Mhm.
Because I used to live on Monroe Court. Well, we need to search for another member. Be nice to have someone in the city, in
Okay.
my view, who knows codes and zoning, whether it's an architect or engineer or, I don't know, a lawyer. But anyway,
Right.
something to think about. We could use another member. I need a motion to close our hearing.
I move that we close our hearing for the day.
And I second that motion.
And a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye. There you go. Well, thank you so much. Cheryl?